At least 4 people have been killed in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, in the latest wave of Russian air attacks. Several Iranian-made drones smashed into 2 apartment buildings in the overnight raid. Among those killed were 3 rescue workers whose truck was hit as they arrived at the scene. 1 civilian also died and 12 others were injured. As Russia intensifies its air and ground offensive, Ukraine has responded by lowering the age of conscription from 27 to 25. While public support for the war remains high, the move is a harsh reality for many.
Так, це може до моєї дитини дістатися. Я не хочу. У мене єдиний син. Я одинока мати. Навіщо ж ви мені, вибачте? Я стільки років його тягнула, щоб його, вибачте, забрали, і хтось його вбив заради забавки. Воно мені не потрібне.
В цілому вважаю не дуже добре, адже враховуючи ситуацію, яка відбувається, дуже багато юнаків гине. Розумію, що вони гинуть, захищаючи країну, але чи кожен з них, потрапляючи на фронт, хотів цього, піти туди і загинути?
The new mobilization reflects the pressures the country's forces are facing along the front line. Outgunned and gradually losing ground, they are desperately in need of fresh Western military supplies. Ukraine's only option is to boost the one resource it does have, its soldiers.
NATO foreign ministers will continue forging a plan to provide more stable military support to Ukraine. Officials descended on Brussels this week to mark 75 years of the military alliance.
We are now in the process of developing a more robust and enduring institutionalized framework for support to Ukraine. There are different ways of ensuring that our support is less dependent on voluntary short-term offers and more on long-term NATO commitments, and that we have a stronger organization that creates a more robust framework for our support.
Planning will continue on Wednesday. It comes as European Council President Charles Michel spoke with European leaders in Romania about the EU's 5-year agenda. The bloc will focus on security and defence, economic stability and prosperity, enlargement and the EU project, Michel said. After the recent deaths of 7 aid workers in Gaza, the Palestinian city is now the most lethal place in the world to be an aid worker, says International Rescue Committee.
We have seen a significant increase in global attention to this issue, to the safety of humanitarian workers, in large part because of the nationalities of those who were killed on Monday. And that is an uncomfortable reality, but if any good can come of that attention, perhaps it can be an increase in political and diplomatic attention, focused not just on the safety of aid workers, which is important in and of itself, but on bringing about the conditions in which aid can be scaled up and provided to Palestinians in Gaza at the level that it's needed.
Foreign political leaders have also weighed in on the recent deaths. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said US President Joe Biden is heartbroken over those killed.
We are all heartbroken here.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez branded comments made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu following the airstrike as insufficient. Additional clarification of what happened is needed, he said. Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani called the attack a violation of international law. It comes as internal pressure builds in Israel, with War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz telling reporters on Wednesday Netanyahu should call an early election. Italian Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini survived a no-confidence vote in Parliament. The far-right League Party leader has been under fire for his suspected relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He survived the censure motion easily in Rome on Wednesday with 211 noes, 129 yeses and 3 abstentions. Salvini, who is also serving as the Transport Minister, is known for his conservative immigration policies.
The French police removed dozens of migrants from the forecourt of Paris City Hall as the capital gets ready to begin its 100 days countdown of the start of the Olympic Games. About 50 people, mostly women and children aged 3 to 10, were relocated on a bus to a temporary government housing in eastern France.
C'est des familles, c'est des mineurs, c'est nos patients, c'est des gens avec qui on essaye d'être solidaires. Et là, au nom des Jeux Olympiques, tout ce qu'on leur propose, c'est de partir loin de Paris, à Besançon ou à Marseille.
Aid workers have expressed concern that the move is the beginning of a broader effort by Paris authorities to clear out migrants in the capital before the Games.
Donc, ces propositions ne sont pas adaptées. Il y a des places à Paris, par contre ils font place nette pour les Jeux Olympiques. Donc en fait c'est ni plus ni moins du nettoyage social et de l'invisibilisation par la région.
Many of the families are from French-speaking African countries.
Ils ont dit on doit aller à la Provence, mais c'est mieux plus que pour rester à dehors avec les enfants. Comme ça, c'est pas vite, c'est fatigant quand même.
Olympic organizers have said they are working to find solutions. Aid groups have distributed food, blankets, and diapers and helped some of them find temporary housing for a night or two.
An unexploded 500-kilogram World War II bomb was discovered this week in the Rhine River in the German city of Cologne. The explosive was uncovered during construction on the shipping channel near the Kennedy Embankment in Deutz. The Dusseldorf district government defined the danger zone as 500 metres. The Rhine was closed to shipping for the defusing operation, which wrapped up Wednesday afternoon. Several roads in the Rhine Bank tunnel were also closed.
Small business owners and entrepreneurs say they have suffered the most from Croatia's ban on Sunday shopping. The ban has been in place since July and only allows shops to open on 16 Sundays of the year of their choosing. While unions are satisfied, businesses are not. They are facing a €50 million drop in turnover this year with the loss of Sunday trading. Retailers claim layoffs and reduced profits will follow. How the new trade law affects revenue in the high tourist season remains to be seen.
In Belgium, high house prices and the challenges in obtaining a mortgage make it impossible for many to own a property. Yet, this is expected to change with a social housing plan that would enable individuals to purchase a home after renting for a certain period.
Il va louer pendant 5 à 7 ans à un prix défini, à des conditions définies au départ, cette maison ou cet appartement, et puis au terme de 5 à 7 ans, en fait, va pouvoir constituer cet effort propre et puis, entre guillemets, devenir propriétaire au travers d'un prêt hypothécaire qui sera proposé. Si je décide d'acheter le bien, eh bien, pendant 4 ans, la moitié des loyers sont considérés comme récupérables, donc c'est une avance. Donc en fait, en payant mon loyer, j'épargne la moitié du loyer pour l'achat futur. Et ça fait quand même une grande innovation dans la prévision de devenir propriétaire.
The new trend in housing is co-living. These are often large houses that have been renovated by private companies. This upmarket form of shared living is increasingly popular with young workers aged between 23 and 35. Older people are also renting a cheap room to students to accompany their loneliness.
Tout va bien?
Oui, ça va.
Allez, super. Je suis contente que tu sois là parce que justement, je voulais te demander si tu pouvais me donner un petit coup de main. J'ai perdu mon mari il y a 1 an et demi. Et donc, je trouvais que être dans la maison seule, c'est pas du tout mon truc. Donc, j'avais envie d'avoir une présence, d'avoir aussi un peu de jeunesse, d'avoir de la vie, quoi.
Democracy, the rule of law and fundamental rights are core values of the European Union that have been shaken over recent years. In 2022, members of the European Parliament were accused of being involved in a cash for influence corruption scandal, which allegedly implicated Qatar, Morocco and Mauritania. Fast forward 15 months, the European Parliament filed a lawsuit against the European Commission over the release of frozen funds to Hungary, a country it claims failed to meet standards standards of judicial independence set out in the EU treaties.
That agreement by the national parliament.
I see a lot of complacency in the European political class, all across the political spectrum, from the right to the left, in which people running for elections say, well, the European citizens have probably forgotten about this. And I don't believe so. I think there is something very profound that has to be attached to the Qatargate and several other little or smaller scandals that have occurred since then, suggesting that there is a culture of impunity within the institutions.
As the European elections approach, the credibility of the European institutions has come under closer scrutiny. According to the latest Eurobarometer poll, the second biggest threat to democracy for people across the bloc is the growing distrust and scepticism towards democratic institutions. However, the destabilization of democratic processes by threats such as cyber attacks was the biggest concern for only 9% of respondents.
I would say they should live up to the values and standards that they ask of the 27 member states when it comes to rule of law, when it comes to integrity of public institutions, when it comes to ethics. And they haven't done so. There is an unfortunate double standard between the Commission and Parliament and the member states on the standards that they ask when it comes to these issues and the standards that they place on themselves. And until that discrepancy is balanced or addressed, then the credibility will continue to wane in the eyes of voters towards the institutions.